What is going on, everybody? Good morning. Great morning. Happy Monday. What a gift and grace to be here with all of you as we're about to get ready to go ahead over here. Take a look at the markets. This is going to be a fire session, a good session, a Monday session. We're going to be doing a few different things over here as after we take a look at the markets, make some important observations like overnight why equities were under pressure. Bitcoin held in pretty well. Bitcoin recovered first, right? Bitcoin now did trade over here and did come down and test the breakout over here so far, trying to resume up. That's not to say it can't go back down and test that trend line again or even break down. We're not out of the woods yet. You can see some resistance if you just follow my mouse right around where we are. I'll call it 51,500. Horizontal resistance we need to break above will be that last swing high. Nevertheless, looking good over here. Today we're going to take a look at some very important things. We're going to take a look at the greatest immediate risk to Bitcoin, whether that is the Chinese government launching a malicious attack versus Bitcoin, going ahead and organizing all the miners that are in their region attacking Bitcoin, or whether or not it is something of financial risk right now. What are the odds of that happening? We're going to take a look at that, and we're going to take a look at something I don't normally do with you. I don't normally look during this bull market phase at potential price targets and what we might be looking at. We're going to take a look today at some bullish charts. You know why? Because as you're riding the bull of all bulls, it's really important to have that full awareness. And that includes the region that we're going to be looking to exit the door. Or is the risk this time a little bit different, by the way, before we even get into charts? Look over here. We have approximately 4 million Bitcoin in liquid circulation. 2.3 of those Bitcoin held on exchanges, and the Bitcoin supply has been dropping for 12 months. That has never happened before. Could it lead to a massive supply squeeze? Could the model break this time to the upside? And what would that mean? Does that lead to a super cycle, or does that lead to an Uber blow off top? What type of prices will we be looking at? We're going to take a look at all of that. Trading well above $20,000 in 2021, in early 2021. You got to stay safe out there, everyone. It's just as dangerous to be as wrong on the upside as it is on the downside. You have to stay in the flow. You have to every day follow what's going. You have to invest in yourself. You have to follow the flow of the markets, and that includes all markets together because it's all a delicate dance they do. All right, everyone, let's kick this off over here. We have the S&P 500 opening up in about 22 minutes, still within the bull flag, opening up unchanged off the lows. That's pretty bullish. Friday's price action was quite insane. Remember on Friday I said to you, price is everything today. Watch what happens. What did happen is we started off early in the session, bid, and then we had massive volatility taking us back down over here. This is about, I'm going to call it, I don't remember what time it was. I'm going to say it was about 10 or 11 a.m. Eastern time. Came all the way back down, and then we saw massive amount of buying. Was that actually the plunge protection team intervening in the markets? It could have been. We saw a 4% move on the Nasdaq. Is that correct? I don't think so. Let me check that out really quick. Hold on one second. Yeah. We saw a 4% move intraday on the Nasdaq off its lows. That's only happened a handful of times. That's only one of those times was back in March of 2020. Usually when that has occurred, that has been a sign of a reversal. Pay attention to what's going on over here. As we said on Friday, and it's all, you know what? It's a collective collage. Each and every one of the shows we do, it's so important. And I know that if you're just joining us now, all right, this sounds interesting. I would like to know more. It's a little bit overwhelming because there's a lot of content and it's good, important content. You begin right here where you are right now. That's where you got to begin. You got to begin. Just don't worry about what you're missing out, what you missed. You're here now. It is good that you're here. I am glad that you're here. By the way, if you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. Conquering the markets all day long. So happy to be with you this Monday. So grateful to be with you on this. What a gift life is. Could you imagine that we are live right now, this moment in time, sharing this experience together? Thank you for making my life better. Thank you for making me a better person. And by the way, just in case you didn't know, I am perfectly human. in my brokenness. Do understand that. Although I strive for things like humility, I do not claim to be humble by any means. And by the way, you better have confidence if you want to be successful in the markets. Do not confuse confidence with ego. But if you do not have that confidence, you are not going to have the fortitude to be able to do what it takes to be a successful investor. That's for sure. All right, everyone. What do we got going on over here? Important signal on the Nasdaq, right? We saw a 4% move off the low on Friday. We're coming up since then. We came back down. Let me go ahead and just move that off, that 4%. We came back down again and tested now the higher support at 12,432 and are now working towards unchanged. I think why I wasn't tracking it, I think the Nasdaq was down at least 1.5% overnight. This is pretty bullish price action we're seeing right now over here. We need to break out of the upside, out of this bull flag to look for that extension. But you do remember that for me, I said as we were coming down over here, first of all, we did, by the way, it's okay to be like, all right, we did a good job. Over here on February the 17th, we called out that, listen, if we do see a correction now, here's what it would look like. We talked about 8%, 10%, what could happen, not calling for a correction, but at the right time, being aware of what could happen. We did have a correction on the Nasdaq. On the Nasdaq, this was 10%, right? 12%. Boom. Right on time. As usual, as always, it's what we do. All right, so what else is going on over here? Let's take a look at the dollars at an important level this morning. You see the dollar into the resistance here this morning at 92.22. We clear above that, and all of a sudden, the dollar has all of a sudden repaired technical breakdown damage. It's not out of the woods yet. It looks like it has a really good chance of happening, but it hasn't done it yet. We get above this. By the way, just FYI, if we do break above here, I expect that we're going to see yields continue to run to the upside, yields into resistance as well, right? I do think that the next move on yields will be around towards the 2% level. I have resistance at 1.93, right? So 1.93, 1.92 in that area. I think we'll see continued dollar strength if that's happening up until the point where Jerome Powell decides that enough's enough. We need to cap yield control. And then once they implement yield control curve, at that point, I think that we're going to see a significantly weaker dollar. All right. So what that means and how we're going to relate that to FX, we will not talk about this session today. We'll be talking about that if we break this resistance here to the upside, and then we'll get more into that. All right. Gold and silver, what are they doing? We'll come back to that later in the session. We'll come back to that later in the session. We're going to have some fun right now. We're going to talk about a little bit of what's going on as far as the immediate risk to Bitcoin. Right now, if you are trading this bull market phase, you have to always be aware of the potential risks. It's not as if we always looking at this through rosy colored sunglasses at all. Just because I am bullish, it's because of the calculations I've done. It's because of the research I worked out. It's because of the understanding of the 4-year cycle. It's because of the understanding of the markets. I have every reason to be uber bullish during this hyper bull cycle that we're in right now. Every reason. But at the same time, always worrying about my risk. Now, a legitimate risk out there is what happens if China decides to attack Bitcoin? What happens if, and now there are numbers floating out there as high as some people believe that China controls, when I say China, I mean the geolocation of China, right? The amount of miners, the amount of hash rate inside there. Some people think it's as high as 60%. From what I understand from sources that are trusted to myself, I understand it to be closer to 40 or 42%. If anyone knows of a way that we could actually get a better read, I don't know if it's possible to do with any type of on-chain analytics or not. That would be very, very helpful. If anyone has that resource, please go ahead and share it. Tag me on Twitter. Get it over to us. That's something that's very important. Now, is that a risk, right? And I'm going to talk about what I believe is a risk. Because we're not always just looking at the bullish case. And then before we get in looking at things like in this episode, before we start looking at like what $1 million Bitcoin and when, and what price targets we're looking at this bull market phase. We're going to do that right now. Let's talk about the risks first, all right? Is a risk that we break to the upside. For me, this is the greatest risk over the next several months. is that actually we do break to the upside. Now, I don't think it causes a super cycle. And if we do see a super cycle, as we get closer to the exit, as I'm exiting the top of the Bitcoin bull market here, and I'm calling a bear market's beginning, I will let you know what will change my opinion and what will cause me to go ahead and get back into Bitcoin. Because I'm not going to get left behind. I'm going to stay on the right side of the trade, even if several months from now that winds up playing out differently, right? So is it a possibility that the model breaks to the upside, that we do have some type of, by the way, did you see, great thread, Alan, over the weekend, did you see over there we had a Chinese company, a company out of Hong Kong, investing $40 million into both Bitcoin and Ethereum? It's not just the US. This is going to be a worldwide event. Now it is, as we talk about the amount of hash rate in China, it's important to just mention a couple of things. Most Bitcoin in the world is held in the geographic location of the United States. Very important to understand that. Most Bitcoin in the world is held by the United States, not the government, the geolocation of the United States. Now, the Chinese government happens to be holding a massive stack of Bitcoin, one of the biggest stacks of Bitcoin that they confiscated recently. All right. So is it in there? Is it their incentive to attack that? Is the digital yuan being launched as we speak? Is Bitcoin a threat to that? And will they attack Bitcoin to protect the yuan? Now, if you were in, let's say, Nigeria, right, and all of a sudden the Chinese government cut off Bitcoin to the digital yuan, do you think that you might want to invest in the yuan or use the digital yuan? Right? Think about that. So listen, this is a great video over here on Real Vision, right? Opposing views. It's Anthony Popolano and Mike Green talking about things such as the possibility, right, that a nation state would attack Bitcoin. And in this example, they use China, and they talk about in this video what exactly that looks like, right? Now, Mike, by the way, is under the impression that you will not see any S&P 500 company, a large company, take a position in Bitcoin, nor a nation state. At the time of this filming, February 3rd, Anthony Popolano was under the impression that some of the largest companies in the S&P would take a position on Bitcoin. And since Tesla has. By the way, you have to listen to those who have a track record of being right, not of being wrong. It's very important. You should absolutely watch this video if you are concerned about the possibility of the Chinese potentially attack, or any other nation state attacking Bitcoin. So you would gameplay through and understand what that would look like and how Bitcoin would defend itself, right? And if you don't, how Bitcoin could defend itself, yeah, watch this video. It's very important so that you have those strong hands to be able to hold during the bull market, because there is a lot of FUD out there. I'm not saying this is FUD. It is, but I'm not saying this is FUD. You know, tether, everything else. Have you noticed, you know, a horse, a racehorse, how it has the blinders on, how focused it is, right? Have you noticed that all of the FUD that's been thrown out there that has gotten people out of their positions this bull market has been like water on a duck's back here on Conquering the Markets, right? We're focused and we're dialed in. Nevertheless, I understand what the risks are. By the way, and this is the greatest risk right over here, this guy, Jerome Powell. He's the greatest risk to Bitcoin right now. Why is he the greatest risk? By the way, who has more power right now, in your opinion? Is it the CCP or is it the Bank of New York, the Federal Reserve, right? Well, of course, it's the Federal Reserve at this moment, right? Now, how is Jerome a risk? Jerome's a risk if he breaks the system. The greatest risk to Bitcoin right now during its bull market phase is that there would be some type of event, and it does not look like we are seeing any type of a liquidity event, a shortage of dollars, as we saw back in March, which didn't just happen because of the virus in March. What happened and started in September, leading up to that, right? We were well aware of what was occurring as it was occurring before this occurred, right? We're not seeing any signs of that right now. So that, as far as that being a risk, yeah, I'm aware of what the dynamics that take place in the market in case there is a risk, so that we could go ahead and hedge ourselves or exit our position or do whatever we need to do if there is that type. Is it a risk that the economy, which right now is running so hot, is going to continue as such, and we're going to see yields rise? And as we see a yield rise, that Bitcoin is going to shake it off? And Bitcoin's good. Right now, the equity markets look like they're shaking it off, right? Oh, that's signal. Pay attention to signal. You have to be able to read. By the way, as you do read, Most of the stuff you read here, I'm signaling out zero hedge right now, but it doesn't matter if it's Twitter or YouTube or wherever you get your information. Only about 2% of it is signal. The rest is just complete noise. You have to be able to distinguish what is signal, what's is noise. This headline, and I'm only reading the headline, I don't need to read more. Some random hedge fund guy says Jerome is unlikely to be around when everything comes crashing down. All right, let's talk about that for 1 second. How long is Jerome in office? All right, 4-year term, February 2022. When is the top of the Bitcoin bull market, right? What are we looking at over here? Well, we're looking at approximately, we're going to look at all those fun charts in a second. I'm trying to find my favorite over here, and I will, right? We're looking at approximately the window of September, the end of September, and through the fall, early winter, right? So that's before Jerome leaves office. Do I believe that we're not going to have a crisis before Jerome leaves? Yep. When we had the last crisis, was I very clear that the Fed just overreacted $4.1 trillion, another $1.4 trillion coming the following 12 months, that the Fed overreacted, and it will be a long time before we have another dollar crisis, saying that the earliest I think that might happen will be 2023, as the digital dollar is ready to be introduced, because guess what? They're going to have to manufacture a crisis in order to make that move to the digital dollar, right? So I'm worried about right now this phase over here. I'm worried about the bull market phase. And although I'm quite bullish, I would gather as much as or more than anyone else, I'm concerned about the risk to the downside, right? That's what I'm concerned about always. I just don't see it right now, right? So I feel good about that. I feel comfortable about that, but I'm definitely doing my research and looking around at all times, right? So what else do we have over here? What does that mean? Can we now look at $1 million Bitcoin and when that's going to happen? Is that going to happen? Do you understand the possibility? I try not to look at price targets this bull market phase, right? You guys notice that for the last few months, I have not looked at any type of target, really talked about them with you, right? We're going to do that today. We'll look at some potential targets, all of them in my mind. I'm more focused on the exit. I'm focused on when that exit's going to be from a variety of factors. And the most important one is price. The most important, because if September 21 comes and we're not going parabolic, I'm not exiting. There's no way. I'm going to get it right. So where does that bring me? Where does that bring us over here? Let's take a look at some things over here. I like to watch that. You think that would. Anyway, I like to watch this. Oh, just let me go at, building on I am human. I'm also authentic, right? The same Jordan that was with you as we started this channel in late October 2019 is the same one that's here today. Who is that? That's someone who has your back, is looking out for your best interest, is here each and every day to make sure that we are have our situational awareness, know exactly where we are, and as the market adapts, could adapt to it. The same guy, if someone tries to troll me, I'm going to go ahead and smack you down really quick. That's not anything new. That has happened since day one and will continue to happen. And if someone's out there, whether it's on YouTube or Twitter, and they're leading others astray, yeah, I'm going to say my piece and I'll say it well because it's dangerous. There you are. So anyway, I like to look at this chart over here because I'm waiting until we start breaking out into this lighter blue area over here, right? That's going to be a sign to me that we're getting ready for a potential top. It's going to happen. When it happens, I don't know. Is it going to be after the peak over here as we make up to the right, as in the second cycle? Or is it going to be before it, as in the first? You know what? For me, I see very clearly that we're between the two cycles. This was a very easy, QE was happening, very easy monetary conditions. In this one, we started tightening towards the end. It was not easy monetary conditions, still enormous gains. And this one, we have very easy monetary conditions once again, just with a much more mature market. We're now talking about $1 trillion market cap. Do you remember when Bitcoin was trading at $200 billion and people were like, how could Bitcoin have $1 trillion market cap? No other asset has done that quickly. Here we are. What's up? In this cycle over here, we're talking about a very small market cap, and just a little bit of money entering the space had big ramifications over here. This one over here, we're between the two. Very important to understand why, right? Diminishing returns, $20,000 by 2022. Careful out there. right? So as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking as we get close to this point, that's when we should start making, earlier than this one and later than this one. That's somewhere around the time we're going to making that peak up over there. As we're making that peak up, are we going to come higher than the second cycle? Because this cycle certainly looks like to me that we are outperforming the second cycle, right? Not as much as the third, but the second. In the second cycle, we did not come up to the top of this lip over here, to the outer edge of that deviation. In the first cycle, we surpassed it. So in this cycle, are we going to come towards that lip? It looks like we're, outperforming the second cycle. It could be. I like this chart. It gives me a little bit of awareness of where I am. What else? This one, you could see this one. You see this first cycle over here? This is what you're looking at, this outer edge over here. The second cycle, you're looking at the lower edge over here. I don't like this blue line over here. So I'm just taking that away. This orange line is where we're at today, right? Is this helpful for putting or placing where a price might be? A lot of traders, they like to look at this one. The days after the halving is very important for me. Are we going to peak out at $387,000 by May 12th? No, we're not, or anywhere close to that. Is it possible by $387,000 into the early fall? Yeah, that's possible. That chart's neither here nor there for me. What about this one? This is a good one. We'll talk about this one in a second. Before we do, I just want to come back over here and look at this chart with you over here. The $1 million Bitcoin, and just to plant the seed in your head, just to plant a little bit of seed in your head, right? The reason I'm not looking at what potential price projections are in the next bull market phase, 4 years from now, that's what we will be doing. As we're here on a beautiful morning together, taking a look at the markets, we're going to be looking at potential price targets for the next 4-year cycle bull market phase, which will be taking place in 2025. Will that be $1 million Bitcoin? I mean, you know what? Do we need to even talk about that right now when we're talking about numbers that are dizzying for this current bull market phase? Now, some people might be thinking, what are the possibilities that we're going to be looking at something like, $150,000 Bitcoin right now, right? I think that we're, this bull market, we're trading at $50,000 right now, $150,000 Bitcoin. That's okay. That feels good. Yeah, but you have to make sure you get it right. Are we going to see $150,000 Bitcoin? I mean, I strongly believe so. Everything is aligning to continue to look like that's going to happen. If someone sells at $150,000 Bitcoin off a price target alone and not looking at where we are right now, how many days past halving, right? Not looking at things like the R-Hodl index, not looking at things like the current price action, might they be significantly selling themselves short, right? Could we be looking at something like 250, 350,000 or higher on Bitcoin, right? By the way, this chart over here, let's look at this one really quick. These green lines over here, this is from the second cycle. I'm not even going to consult the first cycle right now. I'm focused on these green numbers in the second cycle. And you could use these price projections, price projections. I don't know if I have that right, to look at where we might end up during this cycle. Now, we all understand that so far to date, this current cycle is well outperforming the second cycle. Very super easy monetary conditions. We are definitely by a large factor outperforming. Whether or not that continues, or do you think we're just going to dump down all of a sudden, or do you think that we peak earlier than the second cycle, later than the first cycle, and then start that bear market? What is the ultimate peak? Are we outperforming this over here? This, what was it? A 19x over here? This from the 8,572 halving number. This is the price at the halving. If we had a 30x like took place over here from $658 to $19,892, a 30x. If we have that again, that puts price this time at $260,000. Why that is important? Do you think that we're seeing diminishing returns? If you do, then maybe you're looking for somewhere around that $150,000. If you're looking at what's happening and you're seeing everything so far does not even hint whatsoever about diminishing returns, but increasing returns, that puts your number above the $260,000, right? So when I say, the reason I don't talk about price, because the numbers we're looking at, all of a sudden, it really just makes your head spinning. We don't need to be talking about $1 million Bitcoin or a $500,000 Bitcoin, right? We're going to put a little bit of markers out there. So minimum, are we looking at $260,000 Bitcoin? By the way, if you take the bear market low, $3,129, the last cycle 152, we had 131x from there. If you had 131x again, that would put us at $410,000. Now, I don't do that. I don't look at the bear market low. I look at the price at the halving event personally. So this $260,000, right, as a minimum, and I believe that we're going to trade it above it, that's more important to me, okay? What about if you take, what else is over here? We have the last high, the last high was 19,892. If you took the last high, we had a 17x from this cycle to here. If we had a 17x again, that's putting us at $340,000. Do I feel pretty good about price for this potential bull market? Ending up somewhere between that pocket of $260,000 and $340,000. I feel really good about that. If you want to know where do I think that we have the possibility to trade above that? Great. If we do, I'm going to nail it. If someone wanted to ask me where do I think that we're going to be looking, right? Do I think we're going to be trading above 250 and right around 350 in that window? Yeah, I feel really good about that. Nevertheless, if we only made it to $160,000, at $140,000, you should have worked out your trade, the math, so that mission accomplished. You have met all your objectives for this bull market phase over here. That's how we're starting off Monday. Getting a little bit of perspective over there. That's how we're starting off Monday. Boom, 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 boom. All right, everyone. What else are we looking at here today? 655 likes. Thank you so much for the support here, for supporting the work that we do over here. Thank you so much for each and every day, just making the community stronger. Alan, loved your tweet over the weekend. I loved the interaction on that tweet. Beautiful stuff over here. You know what? It's really important. It's really important because I try not to focus on what's ahead of me. I try not to focus on like dizzying price predictions. And when you're talking about something like 250,000 this cycle, $350,000, I mean, is it possible we traded above 400,000? In my opinion, it's probably a low probability we traded above $400,000. I'm not looking for anything like that, but I can say that if that happens, watch out. We're going to be there, and we're going to be doing our best to exit as close as possible to that very top tick, right? Get out within 25% of that top, and you're a hero. You did your job. If all of a sudden we are seeing a massive shortage of Bitcoin, and we're seeing all of a sudden a super cycle taking place, how will we know that? Have you thought about that yourself? What happens if we're wrong? What happens if we exit over here in the top, and then all of a sudden we enter a super cycle where there's no bear market? What happens if hyper Bitcoinization is taking place? As we're exiting the trade, that's an enormous risk. That's the greatest risk I have, is not being fully invested into Bitcoin if all of a sudden we're seeing a super cycle take place, right? What happens if we see in 2022 $1 million Bitcoin and we sold over here at 300,000? Right? So number one, at the very beginning, I'm holding on to what I believe are the odds of that happening. I currently place those somewhere between 5 and 7%. I will be holding that much of Bitcoin as I exit. Now, what would happen? Let's say, for example, that we put in a parabolic move at, let's call it the end of September. We're putting in a parabolic move. We see price coming up. We got a cycle pie. We got the R hold already, and price is just going straight vertical. And price has come up more than 100%. Let's call it in 2 weeks. I'm exiting the corn. There's no question about that, right? What happens at that point? Then we have a massive pullback. Let's call the pullback 50%. And that's what's going to happen, by the way. From the top, within a few weeks, we're going to put in a 50% move down to the downside. That's massive. And then what happens? The Wall Street cycle. All of a sudden, price is going to start bouncing back. People are going to be like, all right, phew, that was nasty, but we're back in the game. It's going to happen. Okay, now let's say, now normally that move goes up somewhere around. As we get closer, I'll work it out with you, rest assured. That move, that bounce up, is generally, we'll call it halfway the distance between that 50% drawdown, right? It's halfway between that 50% drawdown. Let's say that now price goes out and takes out that high. If price comes out and takes out that all-time high on Bitcoin, that's not normal. Something's wrong. I'm going to make sure, and even if it's just on the futures market, that I make sure that I'm positioned long at that point, that I'm protected, because that would be abnormal. Something's not right, and I have to make sure that I'm protected. What I'm getting at is that this is what Bitcoin does to you. Every single thing that could take place, you have to play out your head and be prepared for. That's what we do and how we do it, right? Base case, we're in a 4-year cycle. Come early fall or into early winter, that's it. Cycle peak. We exit Bitcoin, get on the sidelines, and wait till it's time to accumulate again. That's the game plan. If for whatever reason we have to readjust, I'm not going to be the guy that is like, well, you know what? I'm just going to stick to it. And I'm sorry that you guys are all on the wrong side of the trade. And yeah, well, I really think it's going to happen. And then 6 months later, well, Bitcoin's now trading above $500,000, but I think it's going to, no way. I don't have the luxury to do that. I have to be right. So anyway. Well, Jess, my brother, please watch the language in here. My kids will be watching all of this one day as they get their education in the markets. We have a lot of families who watch this together, whether it's father and sons and father and kids. There's no question about that. I get emails and notifications all the time. So let's just keep it, family in here. That's what we do. All right, everyone. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for that. So what else are we looking at? Stefan, beautiful. I mean, by the way, big shout out to all the moderators. Thank you for doing everything that you do. A big shout out to all the men, to the admins. A big shout out to Alan. A big shout out to Alan AU. A big shout out to Brandon and Heath, Stefan, Lemmy, Cameron Tribe. Each and every one of you. Thank you so much, George. Thank you for Elias. Wow, bringing the fire. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. But yeah, so anyway, do doubt me. There's nothing wrong with that. Do your own due diligence. Do your own research. Definitely check out if I say something, again, and it makes you realize that like you're right and I'm wrong, that's awesome. But make sure you're doing that. But I would say consult what I have to say. I have a pretty strong track record of being way more correct than anyone else I know on the internet when it comes to the markets since we've been live on this channel. That's saying something. Is that an ego? Or is that confidence? Or is that fact? You decide. I don't care. I really don't care. I have to do what I do in order to do what I do. I don't have the luxury of just like painting narratives and being on the wrong side over here. So, thank you, my brother. Thank you. So this is thank you for the lead in over here. This comes to the question over here. What are we looking at next? Assuming that we break above this little bit of resistance we have over here, the horizontal resistance we spoke about this morning, around 51,500. If we break above there, that's our last bit of resistance before all of a sudden we're targeting the all-time high on Bitcoin and breaking that into price discovery, right? Is it looking like that's going to happen? Well, we have to feel more confident since we broke out of this trend line over here, right? That's definitely bullish. Now, we came in for the retest right now. We haven't yet resumed off, and we need to break above that resistance for that to be successful. We could still trade back below here, and if that happens, we're really going to have to watch out our risk, and it remains the same. As long as we're above this trend line over there, right, looking bullish. Break below that trend line over here, all right, we could be targeting down over here in this area. That could be somewhere between 4,000 and 3,800, somewhere around and up to a 35% pullback from the all-time high. That's not our focus right now. And the reason why I say that's not our focus right now is because we're trading above the breakout over here in the trend line, right? We're still waiting for that to be confirmed. What are we targeting next, right? And as we break above here, we really need to focus in on that. I've said a couple of times, and listen, all right, here's what I wanted to say. I don't know. How many times have you heard me since we've been together for this year and a half be like, I don't know what happens next? Right? I don't know. And that's good. I'm comfortable not knowing what happens from here. But we'll take a look at a few different possibilities and we'll talk about what we need. Great lead in over there. Great lead in, Ali. Thank you for that. All right. So I said originally, and again, I don't know. I said originally as we had this 30% pullback, 150% off. This is 3 ways to trade the Bitcoin bull market phase. Strategy number 3, 150% off that low. That has us targeting around $70,000. That would be the first area we are now looking for a pullback or for the next bit of resistance. By the way, as we broke above that over there, right, from here to here, I kept saying, watch out for a double pullback. I said it almost daily. Watch out for that. Wound up happening. I didn't know it was going to happen, but I knew from past cycles to be watching out from it. This pullback was only 25%. It wasn't 30%. Are we now setting off 150% off this $43,000? Or are we sticking with this one? By the way, as we break out over here, we'll be consulting log charts and resistance, Will's charts, Patrick's charts, all of them, to get a better feel for where we are. We're not there yet. Alan put out a thread over the weekend on Twitter, right? Did you all see it? I retweeted it. It was a great thread over on Bitcoin. And in that thread, he was talking about potential places we're looking for resistance. I need to go, before I present it to you this afternoon, tomorrow morning, I need to review that. We'll talk about that, the possibilities of those. I do not know personally, and I'm not targeting anything above here as we break out. So I'm just leaving it at that. At that point, and again, remember 38,000, above 38,000, you're now like riding beautifully. Is the risk to the upside right now? As we break above this resistance over here and as we challenge the all-time high, I'm going to start letting you know at this point, coming off this pullback and this pullback, and why I don't want to say targeting 70,000, because I want to be very clear. I don't know, right? The risk is definitely to the upside at that point, right? So we're very close to the point where the risk to the upside. Now, as you get closer to 70,000, even if we're targeting something like $80,000 or above, the risk is really no longer to the upside. At that point, the risk is, all right, be ready for a 30% drawdown at any time. If you're looking to lean in, you really want to wait for that 30% pullback, okay? So right now, I just feel like I feel comfortable having the awareness of where we are coming out of this pullback over here, breaking out over here, looking for that resumption out, and being very comfortable. Everyone should be very comfortable in the position they're in right now. As we start, when we break up, do you remember how many people called the top over here at 40,000? Do you remember how many people were like, oh yeah, 20,000, we're not going to trade above there sustainably into 2022? Yeah. Well, if you take issue with that, I take issue with people keeping people on the wrong side of the market, right? So anyway, right now, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question, but it's a really great question. It's probably it's something that we're going to have to be looking at in the sessions ahead. But I don't have a crystal ball, and at this point, I don't have the confidence to tell you all that, listen, this is what I think's next. And I've done that remarkably throughout this whole with precision, right? With precision. So that's where we're at today. Let me jump into real time, see what's going on with you, see what we're going to look at next. Boom, 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 boom. Are we still talking about soybeans? Anthony, are we still talking about soybeans and silver? Right? Right? I mean, listen, let's talk about gold and silver. Let's take a look really quick. I have that resistance that has been rejected over here. Let's flip this off to resistance. right? By the way, silver is trading above the 24.32, right? But way no man's land, right? We've said this. I mean, we're so on point with what's taking place on gold and silver that obviously no one even needs to look at it. But what we are saying that if we drop below 26 and above 24.32, we're in no man's land. You know, things are not looking so great over here, but have the potential to repair themselves. At this point, waiting for them to repair themselves, right? I don't see any possibility of any entry, any high probability of entry on silver this session or in the coming sessions. If that were to occur, if we are able to like I don't even see it like, would I want to attack that? No way. It's not looking good. I'd rather wait and to get above this area over here, get above 26.30 again, and then maybe that looks like a place to look for an entry. But right now, this is on the back burner, right? The back burner simmering, like keep away. There's no play here. Same thing with gold. I mean, we were looking for that capitulation over here. I was looking for a capitulation as in a quick capitulation, a quick move down and then up. That didn't occur because we had to move down. Since we moved down, we came into the resistance and have resumed off of it, right? So that's negative. Do you want to be investing in gold right now? Well, if you're like, wait, I love gold. It's not the time. Just wait. Do not get your money stuck in a position that's doing nothing or going against you. That's not the objective of this game over here. What it is, though, and this is something we've been very clear about. Like, are you looking for a layup? Are you looking for an easy trade? This has to be one of the easiest trades of the year. Here's gold versus Bitcoin, right? So if you're interested in silver, if you're interested in gold versus Bitcoin, what you have you're so far out of it that you don't understand, right? When I say it's the most important trade that matters, it's literally the most important trade that matters, right? And you're still early. If you're looking at Bitcoin today at $51,200, getting ready to break above this resistance, well, is this a place to buy or accumulate Bitcoin? Michael Saylor certainly thinks so, right? Did you see him last week on the bid all the time? Another 10 million, another 18 million, right? What does he know, by the way? Does he know something that we don't know? He's the one that put on the MicroStrategy Corporate Conference setting up the groundwork for other public companies to be able to invest in Bitcoin, right? To get approval by their board, to let the authorities know what they're doing, why they're doing it, how to do it correctly. And it takes approximately 6 weeks to do that. The conference was over 4 weeks ago. We're getting very close to the announcements, right? A friend pointed out to me those purchases you saw of Michael Saylor over the past couple of weeks, that's him front running the news of what he knows happening. Because he can't come out there and tweet, oh, X and X is about to announce they bought Bitcoin, right? But watch what they do and watch what he's doing. Anyway, 946 likes. We almost made it to 1,000 likes. We almost make it. We almost make it. Ethereum on the move. Ethereum up 1%. You think, so easy money. We're getting close. We're about a month away when I'm going to call out what I believe the bottom of the Bitcoin bear market will be. Now, all you regular watchers understand exactly why I will be doing that. It has to do with how many more months to the next halving, because it happened in the first and second cycle. Therefore, I believe it'll happen again. We're about a month away. We'll call out whatever we believe the bear market price to be. It's too soon. And as we do that, we'll go over and show everyone what exactly that looks like. What else? What else are we looking? There you go, Steve. Bitcoin is moving into that resistance right now. Equity markets over here, way off their lows. S&P trying to take a run at breaking out of this bull flag. All very bullish, and that's with rates rising with yields rising over here, right? That's like those types of observations. That's what all pulls it together. You might not today have that understanding of what it all means, but continuing to make those observations, you will. Speaking of observations, right? What's going on with the Euro-US dollar? Do you remember in the training session that we just had Forex Masterclass last Tuesday for conquering the markets? We were talking about why in this moment it would look like taking the Australian dollar, US dollar long and the Euro US dollar short. Why we don't normally hedge like that, why in this particular instance it made a lot of sense. Look what's happened since. The Euro US dollar has gone ahead and just flown into profit, right? Australian dollar, US dollar, what's happening over there under a little bit of pressure. That would have got stopped out, by the way, if there was the entry signal. I have to go back and look at that session to see. Assuming there was, that trade gets stopped out, right? But the Euro US dollar way more than makes up for the profit. What's going on the Australian dollar, US dollar right now? Let's focus in first on the DXY. DXY right now is into that 92.22 resistance. It's strong resistance. It's a big one. It has to clear above before I say, all right, it looks like we're going to have continued dollar strength follow through. So right now in this particular moment, I would not be looking to initiate a new position long US dollar as it's into resistance. It would have to go ahead and break above before you looked at adding or taking any new US dollar positions. With that in mind, let's take a look across the board. Now, with it into resistance, could you short the US dollar if there's a setup? What's one pair that might potentially have a setup against the dollar? And that's the British pound. British pound, very strong since the new year, since January 1st, something we've been pretty consistent and strong about, right? It's always a dollar story. Absolutely, my brother. It's always a dollar story. World reserve currency, right? Maybe one day it'll be a Bitcoin story. It's not a Bitcoin story. It's a dollar story. Bitcoin's the most important trade that matters. Look at us into support over here. Pound US dollar into support. Dollar into resistance. A resumption off here, is that a trade worth taking? Is that with a tight stop, by the way, in this particular case, right? You know what your risk is. You're risking 0.5% if you get the trigger. Is it worth taking? It looks like a decent possibility to me. It's something that I would definitely green flag to watch out what happens later in the session, right? As I'm looking for an entry tomorrow morning during London, right? I like that the dollar into resistance, you pound US dollar, what has been leading the dollar into support. Yeah, I like that. What about the Euro US dollar? Obviously, I'm not going to lean in here and buy the Euro US dollar. Is it into support? Yeah, it's into support. Look at all this supply over here, this whole area. But that goes all the way down to $1.17. You know, that's a big area, right? We're just into the first area. It's possible it could bottom out over here, but I would not attack strength, the US dollar, with weakness, the Euro US dollar, right? Would I consider, is pound strength? Yes. Would I consider, if this is where the dollar meets resistance, attacking it versus the pound? Absolutely. What if not the euro? And obviously you're just now holding this position. Do you move your stop loss to break even take a little bit of profit over here as you come into the support? Yeah, but on both accounts. Stop loss now back up now to break even, taking at least 20% off over here. Why? A couple of things. The DXY I know is into resistance. It could very well, that resistance should hold. I could also see I see these 2 points connecting very well. And there's the other one, the third, starting right there. Connect these down over here. That's also into an area of support right now. At least take 20% off over here. This could bounce from where we are. You don't want to attack it to the long side. What about the Australian dollar, US dollar? Well, this is another strong pair. But in this particular case, I do see that I'm below this trend line over here, right? I'm trading below it. Why the pound has held, the pound US dollar has held the support. The Australian dollar US dollar, it looks like it's breaking down over here, and that could resume down. I would stay away from that. I wouldn't be considering the Australian dollar US dollar at all. What about the New Zealand dollar US dollar? It's been a while since we looked at it. Let's take a look over there. All right, I mean, to be honest, it looks marginally better than the Australian dollar US dollar in the fact that it's holding the support over here. I'm going to go ahead and move this line over here. Obviously, it's now resistance, but I'm moving it up now. I'm moving it up over here to this peak over here. On the way up, that's where the resistance should be. We also have a touch over there. All right, so boom. But I don't feel like doing anything over there. That's also sideways, and I avoid sideways markets like the plague. I don't like my money getting caught up and tied up, not working for me or doing anything. What else? What about the US dollar, Japanese yen? US dollar, Japanese yen, one of the trades that I really, really missed No question about it, right? Even though we were tracking it because it happened around, anyway, I missed it, right? But we're seeing those rising yields. Definitely this is playing out here on the US dollar, Japanese yen. Japanese yen has been the weakest pair consistently ever since the Fed acted. That's been signal, right? Is that a place to attack? You know, if yields all of a sudden top out at this resistance and come off hard, will that be reflected over here? I don't know. You know, definitely have no inkling to get long on this pair after it's going vertical and gotten so far away. So that's out of the question. And at the same time, there's no way I'm going to short strength with weakness. Japanese yen is weak. US dollar is strong right now. There's no way. So moving right along. What about this one? Pound US dollar. Let me show you on the 3-day, by the way, because do you remember at the beginning of the year? At the beginning of the year, they're all the videos, by the way, are there. They're all uploaded to YouTube. It's a beautiful, 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 beautiful track record, right? Do you remember at the beginning of the year? And I told you this is what I'm targeting. Pound Japanese yen. This trend line over here, this resistance over here at 155. We're pretty close now and getting closer all the time. This has been actually quite a different year, this 2021. I know that we're only 2 months into it, a little over 2 months into it, but there's only been a few trades on FX, but they have been trending and going a long while. Another one is at the Euro British pound, right? Continuing over here. There's been a few trades. The Australian dollar, US dollar was one of the brilliant ones, by the way. It just didn't work out to completion. When I say that, I mean, right? When we took that original entry over here, taking 40% off, yeah, nice trade, but then stopped out the rest of it, right? Because price went up pretty far after that. You know, not everything is perfection. We're all human. We're all broken, by the way. You have to embrace your brokenness. You really do. You cannot, why you want to have the desire to always be improving, to always looking to be better yourself, you're going to fall. And when you fall, you cannot be hard on yourself. You have to be merciful. Why? Because God is merciful. The Father is merciful. You also have to be merciful on yourself. Love others as you love yourself. You need to also love yourself, and you can't love yourself without being forgiving and merciful. If anyone sins against you, you have to forgive them. But you also have to forgive yourself. All right. I don't know who you're talking to. I just jumped in on a conversation over here randomly, and hey, follow the inspirations and the flow of the Holy Spirit as well. Do you really think you could be a millionaire next bull cycle? I mean, I don't know who you're. Maybe you were having a conversation with someone else, right? But I don't. If anyone is taking a look at this, I know for sure many of those who have been following this channel for the several months for the past year. I know many of you are on your way to becoming millionaires this cycle. There's no question about it. Some of you most likely already are, right? Big deal. Yeah, that's part of the plan. That's part of the goal, right? But that doesn't change who you are. You better continue being. And by the way, one of the first lessons I learned years ago, a long time ago, was not like everyone's always focused on making their first million. You got to learn how to hold on to your first million. That's a more important lesson, in my opinion. But that's not where we're going right now. But that's a way more important lesson, right? Is holding on to your wealth, right? Because I guess, anyway, rebuilding it the second time is a little bit easier. Anyway, I digress. 2,200 people in here. 2,200 people in here. Yeah, Pure Vita, thank you for everything you do for this community. Thank you for helping make this experience so smooth, helping moderate. Thank you for just adding yourself. Really appreciate that. All right. Tom, this is really not the time or the place, but nevertheless, I just have to let you know why I'm seeing it. I spent a good deal of time, I don't know if it was Saturday or yesterday morning. I got up to clip number 8, and I've gone through on all of the videos, Tom, and I've added sections to the YouTube videos from your timestamps. So now when people are watching the past Conquering the Markets training session, they're able to go to the video, They have chapters in the description below, and they're labeled with your description labels. It's absolute fire. This is in addition to what we're doing, working with Brad and making a searchable portfolio within the course, so that you could, by topic, go down to like, okay, I want to work on placing my stop losses, and then you could have the 7 best video clips on placing your stop losses and all 18 to learn from. Or maybe you're just like starting from scratch and you want to know how to set up your charts, right? You have those 20 videos. Or before you even start the course, and I notice that not enough of you were focusing on the foundation. You guys are just jumping to like, where's the good stuff? You know, how do I do Bitcoin lightly leveraged? How do I let my winners run? Exiting Bitcoin, like the most important upcoming event in Bitcoin in July. Like all of you are focused on the candy, but this stuff is essential before you start, or if you want to focus it on all that stuff's being done as well, Tom. But I want you to know that we've made a lot of progress, and I'm going to work on this more today. But you can now see all the videos subtitled, and it's really beautiful, really helpful. Thank you, Tom, for all your work. That's a huge asset to everyone. Let's keep going over here. Let's take a little further look and dig into FX. Let me take a look at some Japanese yen pairs over here. Alan, I just want to thank you again. Just in case, I mean, I hope we're on the same page. I hope you know how much I appreciate you, all that you offer. I just want to thank you again for all that you do offer, and I'm just grateful for it, right? A third Bitcoin ETF from CI Global Asset Management is expected to list on TSX tomorrow. Thank you for always being on signal. Thank you, Yvette, for everything that you bring each and every day. Each and every one of you is so important to this community. Thank you for making it thrive. Kimberly, the same to you. Absolutely, Kimberly. Thank you so much. Each and every one of you. So where are we at? Oh, hold on. So by the way, just a note, it's been, I guess, about 15 years since I watched the Money Masters. So I would really like to watch the Money Masters again, but it's been 15 years. Thank you. And can you imagine my understanding of the markets, 15 years later, rewatching that? That would be really, really great. Jordan, thanks for everything. You still agree with the Money Masters that even in a debt-free monetary system, technology won't be deflationary? I have no idea. I'm under the impression that technology is uber deflationary. The robots are coming, and the robots are taking away massive amount of jobs. What just happened in 2020 was preparation for that movement. Systematically and methodically, small businesses have been wiped out on purpose by government, not by the market, right? Making way for the next move, or what they plan their next move to be. Now, we the people, we're fighting. We're changing the game. We're making it decentralized. We're not playing by their rules. Follow the youth. Youth is king. The millennials. What's the next generation under the millennials? Please let me know. Follow them. You have to watch what's going on over here. We all have to be together. This is not divide. It's divide and conquer, right? Oh, boomers versus millennials. Are you kidding me? We work together. That's our strength. They're trying to divide us, right? Is technology deflationary? Uber deflationary. Is QE? Uber asset inflationary. You getting that wrong and you call yourself an expert? You don't know what's up. You have no idea. And do believe me, I will call you out on that all day long. I will call you out on whatever has the opportunity to lead other people astray, right? I got to agree with Jordan here, right? That Ben guy is saying Bitcoin won't see sustainable 20,000 in 2022 because of a lengthening cycle. It's freaking dangerous. Because Bitcoin right now is trading at $50,000 early 2021 and just getting going over there. Diminishing returns and lengthening cycles are ridiculous. My laser eyes, they're not ridiculous. That's focused. Get it right. All right. So where are we at? New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. Let me go ahead and these have been flipped since we last looked at it. It's been a while, right? I see that nice consolidation above that broken resistance as support. That's interesting. This is one book for 20 years I've consistently heard good things about. Mark Zone. Trading in the zone. Consistently. All right, New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. This looks pretty good over here, right? Do you see how we're consolidating? Where do you find the entry on that, right? You all know, or those that within the training course know, that I go for the first entry because the stop loss is on the same whether or not you're taking that first entry or whether or not you're taking the fourth entry. It's still the same stop loss. And I don't know if you're going to bounce off the first one or not. I just never know. And those moves sometimes, by the way, those first bounces, sometimes are big ones, like that one right there. So I always go for the first one, right? Now, it's been going sideways. If I was looking at this now, is this something I'm interested in? It's hard to say, to be honest. I'm seeing right now as the equity markets are trading off their lows, looking pretty good. Russell's up. We're seeing, is it tomorrow, by the way, that the House votes on the Senate's approval of the $1.9 trillion stimulus bill? I think that's tomorrow, right? Are we going to see that continued move? Like the one wild card we have right now is that rising rates, right? Is that going to hurt commodities, or are rates rising because the economy is running so hot that it's inflationary, right? And if that's happening and Powell's like, all right, I'm going to let it continue until we need to, until it breaks, I think that we're going to continue to run hotter. This might be a good place to lean into New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. I'm not sold on it. I don't know, but I'll definitely check it out later to figure that out. What about the euro, Japanese yen? Euro's been hit pretty hard, right? Is it a time to attack right now? Do I want to attack with like moderate weakness versus weakness? I mean, I can't say the chart looks bad, right? It does look good. Let me just go ahead and flip these over. It's been a while. Flip this over. So that's one thing that I'm still seeing quite clear is that continued weakness in the Japanese yen. Continued weakness in the Japanese yen, right? Everyone's beating it up, right? Over here, coming off this was resistance, broke above the resistance, came back in, and then bounced off, confirming it as support. That was a good entry, right? Everyone could see conquering the markets all day long. But over here, this looks like we're consolidating now above that and possibly getting ready for a next leg up. But I don't like it. It's not something that I want to get involved with. What about the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen? Carl, have a beautiful day. Thank you for being here. I don't ever combine the 8 hour with smaller time frames. Ever. Ever. I make my living on the 8 hour time frame. The smaller time frames are not giving you any other hint as far as where support and resistance is. It's the 8 hour is the 8 hour because it filters out all the market chop and fluctuation. And if you're going back down to a smaller time frame, you're going to get whipped around. The only reason I started my career off trading on the 3-minute time frame, the E-mini futures, right? I've taken more trades than anyone that I know in my life, right? And it used to be on really fast moving markets on short time frames. The only reason I trade the 8 hour time frame is because it's easier, it's more profitable, and it gives me a much higher quality of life. So it's up to you. But I became a trader for freedom. That's why I got involved in the markets, was because of how incredibly difficult they are. That's where I wanted to compete, and because of the freedom they could afford. Stefano, the Forex part, by the way, is essential. If you want to understand how to trade crypto or any other market, coffee, whatever it may be, you have to understand how the markets work. If you want to understand how the markets work, learn in the foreign exchange markets. It's the best market to learn. If you want to know how I got where I got, this is how I got where I got. I'm moving along from the Australian dollar, the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. I wanted to see this one, the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, right? And I have to say, I'm just going to give it a hard pass. But all I'm going to say is I noticed the same pattern that's developing on the euro, Japanese yen. Same exact pattern is developing here, but I'm going to give it a hard pass. And the only reason is because I said, if something's not so clear to me, that as Jim Rogers once said, what I do is I just wait for this money sitting in the corner of the room and I go over there and pick it up. It took me many years to understand what he was talking about. What he's saying, in my opinion, or how I'm using that, is if I don't see something clear where I know that it's a setup that I'm interested in, I'm moving right along and I'm waiting for that money to be there. What else are we looking at today? We have a pretty good look around the markets, and this is just, this just continues breaking levels. Now, a lot of you, not me, a lot of you, not me, and we talked about this in the master class. Actually, we talked about this using US dollar Mexican peso. And I talked about when, after there's been a long time, when I start attacking, right? For me, this is still in a downtrend, right? We are in a downtrend and we're into resistance right now. Now, there's no way I'm going to sell that resistance. I'm only not yet buying it. Many of you took the buy off the trendline break. Fantastic job. As it was happening in real time, I said, it's a good trade to take. I'm just not going to take it. You all did the right thing and it worked out well. And I'm very proud of you. No question about that. All right. But there's nothing. This is like the US dollar, Japanese yen. It's very similar here with the rates rising. There's not a play here for me right now as price has gotten so far away so quickly. Yeah, that's all I could do. I mean, if there's one thing I could say is that I'll continue to be me. You know, love me, like me, or hate me. I am who I am, you know? Yeah, we looked at we looked at gold, we looked at silver, and those are two assets right now that you want to be avoiding. Rest assured, and I just want you to know, as over here, when there was a potential, we were breaking out over here, we were watching that, right? At these areas over here, looking to accumulate, and then before we broke down, I said, it looks like we're going to break down. We capitulated. This is out of play right now. This is just out of play. And when it comes back in play, because I'm an uber gold bug, but right now with yields rising, it's not the time to get invested right here in the precious metals. Wait, eventually it looks like there's a strong possibility that the Fed will have to implement yield control curve. If and when that happens, precious metals are going to explode to the upside. Wait, it's not the time right now. Same thing with silver. If this improves later on in the week, if we repair some damage has been taking place. This is still, by the way, here's the breakout, the last breakout we looked. Here's two, I'm sorry, let me start over. Sometimes I start talking and you guys are not yet able to neural link to my mind, so you might not understand what I'm thinking or what I understand. So it's a little bit better to just explain really quick. You don't like that? All right. It's okay. So anyway, looking at over here, the big breakout, first of all. So breakout, retest, resumption is currently in play. It's still currently in play from a broader market stance. And over here, like you can see the 2432 is still held. I said if we break below that, then this thing is off for a while. That's like we're in no man's land right now. But we still like have the possibility this trade may play out, and it may play out this week, right? We're into some strong resistance on yields. This could be the top for now. And if that were to happen, this trade right over here is still looking healthy from a technical point of view. It's still looking healthy. It's only in no man's land from a swing trader's perspective. From a swing trader's perspective, you're waiting for that momentum to be going with you to attack. It's not here right now. We got to get above 2630. And then at that point, yeah, then it looks like we could take out that yearly high, the 2020 high. Not right yet. Not right now. All right. You got to have patience. If you don't have the patience of a predator, you're not going to make it. What does a predator do? Think about, think about a lion on the savannah. What is it doing? If it stalks its prey, it finds maybe a herd. And then it watches and it looks for an animal that is maybe sick and or weak or injured in that herd. And then it zeroes in on that. And then it doesn't just jump and start attacking and running at it wildly. It sets up the kill and it waits for the moment that it has the highest probability of succeeding. That's how we trade, right? When I was looking earlier at the FX markets over here, and I was talking about potential setups occurring for the next session, for the coming London session, what I'm doing is I haven't talked about in a while, the analogy of a surfer. A surfer sits on a surfboard looking out in the horizon and is watching for the next set of waves to come in. That's what you're doing, right? You're very selective about the waves you ride. You're looking for the best wave to ride, the biggest and the smoothest, right? So you sit there, you're waiting, and then you see a set of waves coming in. You start checking them off with green marks. Look, there's a set of waves coming in. Out of all these waves, I will consider which wave I want to ride. then before you actually look to place your orders, seeing if you get an entry, you discern out of all those waves that are possibilities, what you think is the best wave. And that's the one you go for. This is how you do it. Where are we at? Bitcoin, just below the resistance over here. Looking and testing that resistance over there. Looking for the breakout, the retest, looking to resume off, and all happening very quickly, unfolding very quickly. I like to look at it on the 2 hour as well, because it unfolds and is moving very quickly. And you could see right now the resistance, the broken resistance holding as support, right? And then you could see the overhead resistance. And what that means is we're kind of in no man's land with a bullish twist, right? Squeeze a little bit of lemon over there. Give it a twist. All right, everyone. All right, everyone. There we go. Just enjoying some of these comments over here. Back to this Money Masters. It wouldn't be able to predict blockchain, and that, yeah. Look, I personally can't wrap my head right now around a deflationary system built around Bitcoin, right? Why? Well, those central banksters are really crafty. They're really crafty. They're moving to the digital currencies, the CBDC. I started talking about that in early 2018. Now people can see it. The IMF was releasing papers back then talking about it. It's easy to see the writing on the wall, backed by the STRs, right? They're doing it. The US, we talked about last week, the US, Janet Yellen, doesn't need the approval of the US government. She was able to go ahead and request a loan from the IMF. How long before the US is just in debt to the ears, indebted to the IMF? And then the IMF tries to go ahead and press that great reset button. They're trying to enslave us. They're genuinely trying to enslave us. And unless you understand that, you are just trading from a position of weakness. It's too far in advance for me to be able to think about the possibility of a decentralized Bitcoin standard, and if that's what we're headed towards, or anything like that. I don't see it occurring right now, right? I'm not even looking next cycle where we might be looking at $1 million Bitcoin or anything like that. I got laser eyes. And my laser eyes, by the way, is different from everyone else's laser eyes. My laser eyes are not focused on $100,000. In my opinion, that's pretty close to a gimme. I'm focused on over here. I'm focused on the bull market phase. I'm focused on the most important trade that matters. And I'm focused on making sure that we could get to our exit window and then exit. That's where my laser eyes are focused. So, my take on Goldman Sachs, or and start is that they're late, that they're irrelevant, and I don't really care. We all know and knew that there were going to be many more ETF. Listen, whatever. They're just late. That's all. I do not like when someone is so late and so wrong, they're written off by me. I don't consider them ever again. When you're that wrong for that long, you're irrelevant. That's all. I consider those that have been right and have a history of being right. Right? Thank you, Glenn. That it does take a lot of preparation to do what we do every day, to prepare for the show, to make sure that we're consistently here, consistently putting everything together. But it's a joy. It's not only a joy, it's a passion. I have an absolute passion for the markets. When I first started trading over 20 years ago, I had an enormous passion for the markets. It's only gotten stronger. And that's hard to say because it was a blazing fire at the beginning. Yeah. I think so also, Nick. My only concern, I think that the central bank digital currencies are bullish for Bitcoin. Why would anyone, right? The more people learn about digital money, right now people don't understand that basically all the dollar right now is digital anyway. People don't, but once the financial system is actually digital, people will be like, oh, And then like they're going to understand more about digital currency and or Bitcoin. And that's going to make the case bullish for Bitcoin. Of course, my concern is what happens if, because they have absolute control, that they're able to go ahead and, and lock out all on and off ramps into Bitcoin. That's something that I don't yet fully understand, and something that for me is a potential risk going forward. But that risk does not come into play at all right now for where we are in this current bull market phase, right? Digital dollar not ready. Earliest, what is it? Late 2022, 2023. It's not a risk right now. I would like to know more about that. Maybe someone like Anthony, I can't pronounce his name, but if anyone could, it would be good for everyone. Anthony Anthonopoulos or something like that. Like, I would like to hear someone like that think through that and, make the case so that I understand it well. But that's not for me to do. But that's probably one of the biggest unknowns for myself in my head. Thank you, boss. Thank you. I forget to ask you all the time to go ahead and smash that like button, but please do. Please do. It gets me fired up when I start seeing those thumbs up getting lit up. It really gets me fired up. And then all of a sudden you find me flowing. And then when I'm flowing, you start hearing like nuggets of wisdom being passed on, right? That's what we do. We hang out together and we share information collectively, sharpening iron, making CTM bigger and better all the time. Thank you, Hank. Beautiful Monday session. Thank you very much, each and every one of you. Yeah, Antonio, I would not recommend anyone take the journey that I took. I was a young kid at the time. When you're a young kid, you could take big risks, right? I would not recommend. I went full time way too soon. I would not recommend doing what I did to anyone. And by the way, that journey, think about right now, we're here on YouTube live streaming together. I'm sitting here with you sharing like experience, right? Like sharing enormous value with you each and every day. That was not, and then we have the training program, right? That's which costs next to nothing and is absolutely incredibly invaluable, right? All that stuff was not available back then, and I was self-taught, and I have to say there were points and places so dark that there was almost no light at the end of the tunnel. I can't imagine how I made it through to the other side, except for the fact that I have that had the desire and the fortitude to persevere. A grace, I suppose, because I can't imagine. Maybe God was preparing me for bigger and greater things, right? And that's the impact I'm looking to have. But I recommend right now, if you're trying to become a successful investor, first of all, you have to start with a much larger time frame. There's an incredible video on the channel that talks about realistic returns trading. Start right there. That's exceptional. You have to have a higher time preference. By the way, my early career as a trader, if I would have took all the money that I was buying products off of Amazon back then, right? Back in 2003 and whatnot, and put that all into Amazon stock, right? That would have been the best choice I could have done. I didn't understand time preference back then at all. You should have an income if you're trying to be a trader. You need an income. And then you'll be able to make much sounder investments. You're not going to feel pressure to trade, which will cause you to overtrade, which will cause you to lose money. So, rule number one, if you don't have a source of income, create it. Boom, 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 boom. So digital dollar, by the way, is expected to be launched sometime around 2023. They're working on it. They're working on it really hard. God bless you too, my brother. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pete. Thank you so much. What a beautiful session. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It takes a lot of, thank you. I mean, listen, did you ever watch Michael Jordan playing basketball? He makes it look easy. Did you see how much work he put in? Did you watch the show about him and the Bulls, the documentary on Netflix? he works so incredibly hard. Not comparing myself at all to the great one, or we just share a name, Jordan. That's it. That's where it begins and ends. But he's an inspiration of the type of work ethic it takes to be the best in something. There's no question about that. And that's been my desire always, to be the best. That's literally been my desire from the get-go, is to be one of the greatest investors that has ever lived. So, thank you, Gemma. Thank you for everything that you bring each and every day, sharing the light of God with us all. Appreciate that so much. That's right. If you long for that wrong. Thank you, Andreas. Great session. Great session. Really great session. Thank you all for sharing in it. Let's go ahead and get some music out over there. No. Sorry. Important question. Will the digital dollar have limited quantity like Bitcoin? Absolutely not. It's fiat. It's digital fiat. You will never know the circulating supply. It will not be shared with you because it's centralized by centralized planners, central banks, centralized planners. There's unlimited supply that they could print at will. Mark, thank you for that. Me too. And at anytime it's relevant, I'll be there. I'm just gonna keep us focused. Thank you, Heath. Heath, brother, I'm missing you for real. Thank you so much, guy, and each and every one of you. I'm so sorry. I really give everything, right? My wife is in her 3rd trimester. We got 5 young kids running around here. She needs a lot of help. Things are like waves and cycles. And I know soon enough that I'm going to have a lot more time to be spending a lot more time with all of you. But know that I give each and everything all the time and as much as possible, right? Always trying to prioritize. Listen, everyone, thank you for the time together today. This is special for me. One more thing. This is a great comment over here. Bitcoin is dangerous because a lot of people get emotionally attached to their investment. That this is a Ponzi or a bubble. I think that the people that get mine are the people who don't understand it. There's no question about that. The people that don't understand Bitcoin, the people that walk into a room and they're like, I don't like Bitcoin, and they don't understand the first thing about money and or Bitcoin, those are the ones that are emotional about Bitcoin. The critics of Bitcoin who don't understand money, right? If you understand money and then you understand Bitcoin, that's why it's so easy for a lot of precious metal guys like myself to understand Bitcoin, because they understand sound money. They understand hard money, right? I got stopped in the airport once with a bunch of silver, and the people didn't know what to do with that. So they bring over the customs people, and the custom guy is like, oh yeah, in Spanish, he's like, oh, hard money. Of course. Awesome. Some people understand it, others don't. But the people that get emotional about Bitcoin are the people that don't. I'll walk away from Bitcoin in a heartbeat. And I will. I will walk away from Bitcoin in a heartbeat. There's no question about that. Right? But at the same time, I understand. When I talk to my 7-year-old about Bitcoin, I talk to her about being a fair and just system. A system that gives hope, that gives power to the people, a system that will stop wars. If you're not passionate about that, what are you doing? Are you supporting? Bitcoin uses a lot of energy. Do you know what uses a lot of energy? The United States military defending the US dollar. That's the greatest polluter on the face of the earth. That causes the most of the loss of most innocent lives on the face of the earth. That causes the most damage and the most pain on the face of the earth. If there's something out there that could defeat that and bring peace, of course I'm about that. Anyone, what a good way to end that one, huh? Let's go out with some beautiful tunes over here, everybody. Big thank you to the moderators. God, thank you so much. You were godsend. Happy Women's Day. Happy Women's Day. Roses for the women. Thank you for being the best part of life. Yeah. How do you confirm a retest is resuming out? It's when it makes a higher high, always on the 8-hour time frame. Here you are on the 8-hour time frame. You see the retest, this red bar coming back into the broken trend line, now holding as support, right? Resumption off is when price makes a higher high than the previous price bar. It's not a given that it's going to work out. You have to have your stop loss. In this case, is your stop loss over here? Or is your stop loss over here? Or break of that? Where do you put your stop loss, right? This is a safer stop loss. This is a higher risk stop loss. This one will get stopped out more than this one. But you're setting your position size depending on where you put that stop loss. Harry, beautiful way to start this week. So great for it. Thank you, Nick. That's what it takes. Jeff, each and every one of you, thank you so much for this beautiful day. I'll talk to you, everyone. Have a beautiful day, and may God bless you.